Welcome to Running in the 70s, where we interview, meet, and get to know athletes of all kind who were running in the 70s. I'm your host, Matthew Kleinowski.
Today on the podcast, we're in the Southwest. We haven't been out way down where the sun is burning even early in the morning, but we're with another Ohio runner, another hotbed that produced a lot of great runners in the 70s. Somebody that had a great running career on the ground and then 2 careers in the air. If you haven't met him, I haven't. Welcome today and look forward to getting to know Larry Splash Coy. Hi, Larry.
How are you?
Great. Larry, let's introduce you with your earliest memories of being a competitor, sports or otherwise. Do you remember when you got started in competitive anything?
As a kid in my generation, we played a lot baseball. We played street football. We were outside riding bikes. That's what my generation did. And you had to be home before the street lights came on. So it was always baseball, always flag football, but I was a runt. So the combative sports were not going to be for me, but I always liked to run. But I was actually probably one of the slowest kids in the neighborhood. I used to race trucks when I was in elementary school. In junior high school, I went out with the track team. The only thing that I could run was the half mile, which was the furthest that they had, the 880. So I could run for 880 yards. At 881, I'd be passed out on the ground, done. And I think I ran maybe 230. That was all I had. In ninth grade, my junior high school was 7 through 9. And at the end of the year, I was goofing off in gym class with one of my friends. We were standing at attention and he showed me out. So the gym teacher came up and said, "Do you want to do this?" I go, "Yes, sir, I do." I had no idea what it was. So I had to put my name and my address on a paper. In June of that year, and a letter from the John Marshall High School coach said, "Hey, your name was forwarded us from the gym teacher back at your junior high school. Said you're interested in running cross country. If you stay at it, you could earn a varsity letter by your senior year." I said, "Well, that sounds good. But cross country season is made in the summer. You got to start running now." So that day, I put on Blues Image, Ride Captain Ride, happened to be on one of my favorite songs back then. Put that on. I listened to it, psyched up. You know, if I went for a 7-mile run, I couldn't run 7 miles. I ran 2, walked down the hill, ran for 2, walked up the hill, ran 2 back. And I did that all summer. And then I show up for cross country practice August 4th. It was on a track. I'm in 10th grade. I'm 95 pounds and I'm maybe 4'11". And they had us run a mile. Okay, I'm running a mile. And then the seniors go, "Hey, this is when you start kicking with the 220 to go." I kicked it in. I didn't know it was a warm-up. I'd never done a warm-up before. I didn't know. But needless to say, but of jokes for a while after that. That was my introduction to competitive running, really.
What was on your feet? What shoes did you have?
Giant Tiger nothing. I think they probably cost $4 in a sporting goods store. When it come time for the first race, the coach said, "Hey, you got to go out and get spikes." So my parents took me and I got Adidas Comets were the one I wore in 10th grade. And then that was Adidas Intervals the following 2 years. And then Tokyo's, I think, my senior year for a little bit.
When did you become a runner? When did you become competitive in track running?
That summer, I just ran and I ran. We had a month of working out with the team. And I was able to hang with the league group, which I didn't know they were varsity. I didn't know varsity, junior varsity. I didn't know that. I was just trying to stay with the league group. So coach put me with the league group and I would run all the time. There's 2 workouts. There's a morning and an afternoon, and you got to choose which one you wanted to go to. So I'd ride my bike 2 miles to the workout, run the workout, and ride my bike 2 miles back. We only attended 1 workout session. Then we had our time trial. I ended up getting second on the team as a 10th grader. And I was second guy on the team for the first 2 races. And I don't know if you ever heard the name Ron Addison. He went the road. You were in 404 in high school. Well, we were racing Ron Addison. And the captain of our team, I looked at him and he had won both races. And I got 4th and then second. And I said, "Go on, you got to win this one too." He goes, "Heck no." I go, "What do you mean no?" He goes, "I'm running Ron Addison." I said, "Who the heck's Ron Addison?" I go, "Nobody beats Ron Addison." I go, "We're going to try, right?" He goes, "No." And I couldn't believe it. So I said, "I'm going to try." So I went and I did beat him. I think I got 3rd that race. And then the next race was my first big meet. I just ran as hard as I could and as fast as I could. the whole way. It was 2 miles back then. And I finished the number one guy on the team, and I was the number one guy on the team after that. So that was really it.
When did you get a notice of the rest of the wider world of running beyond school kids? Were you aware of the USA or world
No,
athletics?
no, I missed going to state meet in 10th grade, my first year, by 2 places. Well, my coach took me down there. My hero at the time was Keith Brown, long hair, Shaker Heights, Ohio. He ran 12 races, 12 course records. He was going to indisputable winner. So I'm going to watch Keith Brown win the state meet. And Ron Addison's in that race. And Ron says, I'm going to go after, and Ron and I were friends. And I asked him what his plan was because I'm going to go out with him. Okay. We went out with him, and Ron ended up getting 16th. But past the mile mark, Keith was so far ahead, nobody with him. And with a half mile to go right in front of me, Keith doesn't know it. He's got a long, flowing blonde hair going. Here comes Mike Burley from Berea, Ohio. And Mike blows by him. I just go, and Keith didn't even know he was there. He goes by him. He's just like stunned and starts chasing him, but he can't. And there's a half mile to go. And he tries for a little bit, and then Keith shuts down, and Keith ends up fourth. Mike wins the state meet. It's a beautiful 68, 70-degree morning, a beautiful sun. All these cheerleaders are around. And I was stunned, and I go to coach, that's what I want. I want that. And part of it was the cheerleaders and the sun and all that other stuff. And he goes, you have some talent. I go, I need you to coach me there. I will do whatever you say, but I need you to do it. So 2 years later, it's my turn to go. And I'd been undefeated up until the race before state. And then Mark Hunter and we ran side by side, and Mark beat me by 2 or 3 tenths of a second. And I was a little bummed because I hadn't been defeated. The next week, we'll run the state meet, and there's 3 undefeated people. One, Dave Stanton from Cincinnati Princeton, Pat Carver from Dayton Wilbur Wright, and Mark Hunter from Brunswick, and me, I had 1 defeat. But the mile mark were right behind the 2 guys from the South. And I look at Mark, and I say, hey, let's take these guys. And he goes, what? I said, never mind. I'm thinking, wait, why am I wanting him to go? He beat me last week. So I don't say anything. But I did a Mike Burley. With a half mile to go at exactly the same place, I took off, and nobody came with me. And finally, a little while later, Mark's going, he's not coming back. So he starts chasing, but I win, and Mark was about 6 seconds back. And if Mark would have come with me, who knows? And if Kevin Foley wouldn't have gotten mono that year, because Kevin and I raced one time, and I beat him by about 2 seconds, but Don Jernigan beat me by about 1 second. So Kevin was always right there with me. If Kevin wouldn't have gotten sick that senior year, he would have been right there in the mix. So when I saw Mike Burley win state, that's why I dedicated my whole high school career to that. Now, Mike Burley, I don't know if you know it, he won the state meet in cross country, won a state meet in swimming, won the state mile, beating Ron Addison.
Wow.
And he didn't run indoor. He comes from swimming, and then he goes and so he was a 3-time state champ the senior year, and then went on to be an Olympian and world champion in the pentathlon in the Army.
What about your relationships with these guys? So Mark Hunter was a friend of yours, and Addison. What about Kevin Foley? How well did you know Kevin while you were in high school?
I didn't know Kevin because he was from the east side. We're separated by the Cuyahoga River, east side, west side. We never mixed. So except when we were there to do battle and combat. And so I didn't know Kevin. All I knew is he was a tough runner. And at the state meet prior year, we were right there together as well. So I didn't know Kevin very well, but later in college I knew him. Now, Ron Addison, we raced together all the time. Every time I toed the line, I tended to race Ron and beat Ron. And I always did it, and I never beat him. But we became very good friends. And I remember at the city meet when I was in 10th grade, I went out with him, and about the mile mark, I was starting to feel it. I was starting to lag, and he said, hey, Larry, stay with me a while. And so I stayed with him a while, and he helped me. And then with about a half mile, boom, I started fading. So in 10th grade, I got 4th in the city, but Ron won it. So Ron and I became friends after that, praying together, went to his senior prom, but I took the gals, so we hung out quite a bit, but I learned from watching Ron. Same background, middle-class family, great mom and dad, great support system. So I learned a lot from Ron Addison by just watching him. And he had the same parental things, like parents worrying about girls interfering with your running. It's like there is more than life than just running, that type of stuff.
Let me ask you a couple of things about high school. Your coach, you asked your coach to take you where you wanted to go. Who was your coach, and was he a specialist in distance running?
Yeah, he was. Jim Emery went to John Marshall. He also went to Miami University. He went to ROTC, was reserve commissioner in the Marines. And when I showed up, he had just come over from John Adams, an all black school, where he had coached the mile relay to a state championship team. But he called, when I showed up, again, not 5 foot, he's calling us men. Hold on. Oh, I'm like 4'11". And I thought that was pretty cool. But he was a Marine. There was no gray. It was black and white. And he was very serious. And he had a crew cut. But he was like a second father to me. Whatever he said, I was going to do. My senior year, I said, hey, coach, if the team goes to state, will you grow your hair long? He goes, yes. We didn't go to state. So I looked at coach and I said, coach, if I went state, you going to grow your hair long? He goes, yes. So I went state. And instead of having the cheerleaders and this being a beautiful, I was covered in mud. It was about 38 or 40 degrees. The course was soaked. And instead of having cheerleaders, I went right to a tree, got down and puked. And the coach runs up and says, Larry, you did it. You did it. I go, not how I pictured it, coach. But anyway, but afterwards, you going to grow your hair? He goes, yes. So he grew his hair and he kept it long ever after that.
I want to talk about what came next, but just first, at that point, how driven by competition were you, and how did that affect you when you didn't win? I know you had expectations. You knew the other competitors in some cases. How'd you deal with it?
Because I was a runt, you tend to fight a lot because people love to pick on the runt, and the runt's not going to take it so long. So as a child, I was in plenty of fights growing up until they realized, okay, we can't pick on them. I'll fight back. So there was always a competitive spirit. But the one thing about cross country, they're the nicest people on the planet Earth. There's Ron Addison. He could have crushed me like a bug, but he didn't. He helped me along. And I learned from that. And even with Mark, let's go beat these two guys, and then we'll duke it up at the end. And again, I love winning, but the thing, I had no strategy. I just ran as fast as I could the whole time. That's what it was like to me. I was like Jerry Lindgren, running in my shadows. I was just always running. But again, the greatest friends I had were interesting, my hardest competitors that I would run against.
Let me ask you then about the next step. Mark Hunter went on to a great collegiate career and even elevated his game. When did it occur to you that you would be running after high school?
In 10th grade, I started to get recruited by Colorado State. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So I said, I'm going to Colorado. They continued to recruit. In 10th grade, I ran 10th lap, then 940s in as a junior, and then in the low teens as a senior, 15. So I always knew I was going to go to college, and college was going to pay for it. And I thought Colorado State, that'd be awesome because I'm from Cleveland. I want to go to the mountains. But there was a girl 11 miles down the street that I fell in love with in my senior year. And I wasn't going to date anybody until after a state meet, not date until after state meet. After I won the city meet, and I asked her if she would go, you want to come watch your run? She cross country? She goes, what's cross country? I explained that. So she came and she watched me run. The next week, I went on a date with her, running against Glenn Wilburn, who was the defending state champ. So I beat Glenn, and we went on a date. And then the next week, I raced Mark, and Mark beat me. My parents go, said you weren't going to race, you go on a date and you lose. I didn't lose. He beat me by that much, but going on a date had nothing to do with it. But again, I had no idea how good Mark was or how fast any of us were running. Only when I go back and I look and I go, holy crap, we were just trying to beat each other, but helping each other. I didn't have any clue how fast we were really going. But because I fell in love with Marianne 11 houses down the street, I went to a college 8 miles away because my parents could still be a part of my running career. I could still date Marianne, and I was afraid I'd lose her if I would have gone away. But I'd run faster in high school than what their college records were. So the good news is I'm still dating Marianne 51 years later. It would have been better for my running career had I gone. But I go to a Division III school and suddenly I'm getting my butt kicked and going, wait a minute. And so runners are runners. Doesn't matter what level you're at, they're still running. Ted Root, classic example. There was a bunch of us in Cleveland that stayed local. It's funny because when Mark was the number one American, he got 4th overall at the NCAA cross countries. He didn't win college. He never won a Cleveland college. He goes, there's too many damn hard runners in Cleveland. But he could go and beat all but 3 Kenyans at the Nationals. But Mark was an artist. When he ran a race, it was a race. For me, I'm an analytical guy. I'm a split guy. I think too much. He just ran a beautiful race, man.
He seems like he had a 0.5% of body fat. Had you grown any since high school?
And my summer after 10th grade, a good year, I went from 4'11" to 5'7", from 95 to 135. And then I stopped. And then I stayed that my whole life until I was going on my first cruise in the Navy in 4. And Marianne goes, "Hey, they got a gym on that ship, don't you?" I go, "Yeah, why?" She goes, "Maybe you could go." I go, "I'm like a natural and international athlete. What are you talking about?" She goes, "Your chest is concave." I go, "I'm a distance runner. It's supposed to be concave." So I went on cruise, weighing 135, weighing 155 coming back. She goes, "That's a much better look." So I got this little wrestling upper body, so Ethiopian looking legs.
All right. I wanted to ask you about there in college, your coach and your teammates.
As far as teammates, Mark went to Kent State, transferred to Cleveland State. But Mark and I trained together throughout the summer, throughout the winter, and anytime the teams weren't training, Mark and we became best friends. He'll be a forever inner circle friend. And it was really Mark Hunter, myself, and Tom. Tom ran like a 4:15 in high school. So the three of us every night would run together. But Marianne and I got married at the beginning of my sophomore year because we found out that we were going to have a baby. We planned on that, but not until after college. So we ended up getting married. Best, greatest event that ever happened in my life. And so my college career was a little different. I was working 3 jobs at one time, going to school full time and running 12. I lived on 3.5 to 4 hours sleep 6 days a week. And then I'd sleep 14 hours on Saturday night. And then I'd start the whole thing. My college career was absolutely brutal because but I had a wife and a child that I was supporting. So running, it wasn't the priority that it was because I put food on the table. Now, my college coach, the moment I met him, I knew I was going to go. Sparky Allen, just absolutely loved the man. Loved him, loved his wife, loved the family. And he had a football background, and that was his mentality. So he wasn't really what I would call a good, knowledgeable coach for this time. But we loved him. You couldn't find a better person on the planet Earth, and I loved running for him. So I never ever regretted going to Division III. Never regretted going to the college 8 miles away because it got my wife, it got my family, and my parents could be a part of my running career. So that was good.
Wow. Good for you. It's a good story. What was your best accomplishment at college?
Probably 4th in the national cross country meet. And I ran 850 flat for the 2 and 410, but I should have run faster than that. The year after I graduated, I got down to 404, and Mark and I went 840s on the way to a 5K on a track down in Tennessee. So I was working at UPS at this time, but I was working full time at UPS. And that race in Tennessee, Mark had no idea. We just set our PR in the 2 mile, and Mark takes off, and he runs a 13:35, I think, or maybe 2 at the 5K, and he wins. Afterwards, I go, "Really? You take off? We just set our PR at the 2 mile and you take off." He goes, "We did." He said, "I was just feeling good. I figured if I wanted to win this, I had to go." And I was a little dejected. And he goes, "Larry, you're never going to beat me." I go, "Mark, I beat you every night in the workout. Why would you say that?" He goes, "First, you work out way too hard." And I had a sign that said, "Be a champion in practice. That's where champions are made." And I worked out hard every day of my life. And it was where Mark was smarter than me. Mark was the hard, easy guy like Bowerman. Mark, when he said that, I'd never beat him. I said, "I beat you every workout we run." He goes, "But you work out way too hard." I didn't know the hard, easy system, and he listened to his body. He goes, "First, you work out too hard. You live on 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, and you eat like shit." I go, "Yeah, you're right on all this." He goes, "You know what I do? I get up by around 4 miles in the morning, then I sit on the couch, eat ice cream, and wait for you to come home from work after working 8 to 10 hours, and then we go run hard. That's my day." Then he said, "But you don't need running." I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You got Marianne and Crystal. You don't need running." You know what I got? I got running. I had nothing else. That's all I do and all I have. So you're just doing this for fun. And I never thought about that. I was considering retiring at that point. So I went back to my high school track. And I got long hair and I got grubby stuff on. And I asked the new coach that's coming out there. I had warmed up. I said, "Hey, will you time me for a 2 mile?" He goes, "You know how far that is?" I go, "It's 8 laps, right?" And he goes, "All right, hey guys, get out of the track. This guy wants to run 2 miles." And so I go out in 62. This is on a cinder track. And he starts going, "Slow down, slow down." I go by him about 4:14. And now he's trying to get his guys to run with me. they haven't warmed up. They can't run 60 some second quarters. And so I run about, I'm 840, 842, 2 mile. And I'm bent over and he's going crazy. He goes, you know what you just did? I go, you said it was about 840, 42. And he's a little dumbfounded. And then he goes, have you ever run before? I go, yeah, I ran here like 8 years ago. And they go, are you Larry Coy? I go, yes. He goes, oh, your name's on the wall. Okay, yeah. So it was ironic. But because of that, I decided I'm going to compete for a while because I'm still thinking now that I'm working on one job and I don't have school and I'm running 2350s for 5 miles out on the roads, beating Rick Fair and a bunch of guys. So I'm doing well. But then Jimmy Carter boycotts the 80 Olympics and every ounce of energy that I had put into running just went away. And I looked at Mary and I go, I want to fly jets off the boat. And she goes, what? So yeah, I'm done chasing Olympic dream. I'm going back to my aviation. And I started flying when I was 14. I flew gliders. And then when I was a late teenager, I bought a little airplane. All those terrified Marianne. So when I told her I wanted to fly jets off board, she said, no, we've been married 7.5 years and you now have 2 kids. We just bought our first house. And I had a high paying job at UPS. It took me 2 years of groveling and begging before I asked what her dream was. And she said, to be a mom and a wife. And I said, so you're living your dream? She goes, yeah, I'm working at UPS. That's not my dream. My dream is being an astronaut, fighter pilot, Formula One race car driver. Those are my only 3 dreams. Funny that they're all competitive type stuff. So she's reluctantly agreed. Little did she know the ride she was going to go on for the next 20-some years.
How did you enter into the Navy? What was that process?
There's a movie out there back in the early 80s called Officer and Gentleman with Richard Gere. So I joined up. All you needed was a college degree. I majored in psychology and history. Not going to do a lot of that, but it got me through the door at the Navy. So I go down to Pensacola. They shave my head, and for 4 months, Marines yell at me and try to get you to DOR, drop in request, get you to quit. There were 68 in our class, only 28 graduated. Out of the 28, I was the only one to get in 14s. And there was only 3 of us that got jets. And the thing about the Navy is the better you do, the more likely you're going to get your first choice. They go to the first choice guy or first shot of the class and say, what do you want? And so usually if they have it, you get it. So when I go on to AOCS, first I was commissioned 2 weeks before my 27th birthday. These guys are all right out of college. They're like 21 years old, but most of them are frat boys, so they're babies. So they're not used to getting yelled at. And where me, I understand this is just a game. So athletically, I could still run a 410. Nobody could touch me physically. I'm older, so that helped. And I'm not smart, but I could study really well. So I graduated number 1 out of the class at AOCS. And then graduated number 1 class on my T-28 primary airplanes, number 1 out of my T-2 and number 1 out of my H-4s. So I wanted F-14s when I got my F-14s. But again, a lot of people, when they put on a flight suit, suddenly they think there's something. I've been married for now 8 years, and she either digs me or she doesn't. And this doesn't make any difference to her. I'd say I'd have to go home and cut the grass, and she cut way more grass than I ever did. So that's how I joined. I went to Aviation Officer Canada School, got my commission, flew jets. And it's funny because right after I got out at AOCS, that movie came out. And then right after Top Gun, the movie Top Gun comes out. It's like it's following me.
That's great. What year was that you joined?
January 4th, 1982. So I went down there and I continued to run and would run local road races. But there was a guy, Dave McDonald, who ran for Pitt, who I used to run against. And he was a newsman, Virginia Beach. I'm from Virginia Beach. Later on, I'm back to run the Masters 8K. And I'm running. And I see a gal in front of me. So if I don't get in front of the gal before I enter the stadium, I'm not going to pass her in the stadium. And Dave McDonald is up there. I said, but man, I want to meet Dave. So anyway, so I don't get her before the stadium. And we go in. And at the end, I go up and he goes, Larry, we thought you were going to catch us. I go, no, I'm not going to pass her in the stadium. He goes, she would have done that. And then he tells me, oh yeah, by the way, she won the Olympics in the 10K last. So it's not like she was a slacker. Okay. But still, it was humbling to know that. And now I watch these gals run and I'm so amazed. There's no difference in the competition between males and females. It gets your blood pumping and it is so fun to watch. The thing I like about them is they're as fierce as men, but when it's all done, they start hugging each other. A lot of guys don't do that.
Let's just divert from the 70s running discussion a little bit. Where did you go? Where did your Navy career take you?
As an F-14 pilot, I was either going to be Virginia Beach, Virginia, or San Diego, California. I didn't pick up Fort San Diego, so I said, I'm going to Virginia Beach. I spent 13 and a half years there flying the F-14, and sea duty was 3 years long, and then shore duty was 3 years long. But during my first sea duty, out of the first 26 months, I was gone for 21 at sea, flying out boats in the Mediterranean, doing stuff. And then I got shore duty as an F-14 instructor pilot, except we don't have any trainer F-14s. So I'm still flying, but I got a new backseater on my back. The guy on my wing, it's just a new guy, just got winged. He's a pilot. I'm going to teach him how to dogfight stuff. So I did that for 3 years, but plus I was the air show guy. So 49 weekends out of the year, I was on the road doing air shows. And the Navy said, I know the air shows are a good deal and you're working the weekends, but you're not getting Monday and Tuesday off because we need you. So I was working 49 weeks a year without a day off. And for 2 weeks out of every month, I take the F-14 down to Key West because the weather's always good and we teach new students how to dogfight down there. So I was still gone all the time. And three-year sea tours and 3 shore duties, all there in Virginia Beach, all flying the F-14. Finally, I had to go get away from Virginia Beach for my career. I had to do something else. So I rushed the Blues. And they had 2 slots. There was 300 of us started. I was one of the final 5. And then the boss called me up and says, are you making 05, Commander? Next year, I don't know. But what year group are you? So I was going to make 05. There's only one 05 on the group. And that's the air boss. And that's a post-command thing. So he said, go get your command tour out of the way. And so I went to U.S. Space Command then, Colorado Springs for 3 years, from 95 to 98. I joined the Navy, so I'd never go to places like Oklahoma. I went to Oklahoma for my last 4 years of my Navy career to command a squadron that had Navy, Air Force, and Marine pilots in it. So it was Virginia Beach. I started in Pensacola, and I did more training in Meridian, Mississippi, and then Virginia Beach, 13 years, 3 years in Colorado Springs, and then 4 more years in Eden. And then I retired.
What was the base in Oklahoma?
Vance Air Force Base.
Yeah, I can relate to, let's see, I taught at Tinker.
Oh, yeah. Right up the road.
My first overseas gig, I was contractor IBM. Martin Marietta hired me with the Kuwait Air Force. They had A4s in the, so they had cables across the cement runways in the sand.
You were doing that as a civilian contractor?
Yeah. Yeah. I was a tech guy. And then I went to Egypt for 15 years. And the first job I did there was connected. It was with the Egyptian Air Force. Logistics. I do logistics and I'd always teach computers. I used to fly into Baltimore and do SAS computer training and different things like that. And then once in a while I'd go to these places like Tinker. We did aircraft maintenance. So I can understand most of the words you're saying.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I was hired by Southwest, but it was after 9/11. So they said, we'll call you every week. That took 18 months before they finally started class again. So I told Marianne, I said, hey, I can go fly A4s, make $300,000 tax free, and I get to come home for a month. And she goes, where? In Yemen. And she goes, is it dangerous? I don't know how dangerous when I was doing in the Navy. She said, no. And part of the agreement for me joining the Navy was I'd sell my little plane and I would never, ever buy another little one again. So I said, oh, because in my heart of hearts, I thought I was going to go F-14s. It never occurred to me the chances of getting them were very slim. But the movie Final Countdown came out and I saw that and that's all I wanted, man. I just loved the Tomcat. Still, if it wasn't for Marianne, the Tomcat would be the love of my life. But because of me going away so much, and Marianne, she knew what I did, but there's some things she didn't know what I did because I was doing Black Ops stuff too. And she finds out a little bit about it. She's not happy about that. But so I could still do that as a contractor on the outside. And she goes, absolutely not. So she deserves this chapter of our life. Again, married 49 years. And this is good. So
that's good for you.
But thank you for going over and doing your thing for us.
Well, there's a chance we overlap. Probably not. It was probably 1992. I was on the USS Saratoga for a couple of weeks.
I was on the Kennedy. We were all in the Red Sea together.
We were in the Med. It was when they were in the Med.
91 was Desert Storm. and it was in the Red Sea with us. We had 6 carriers out there.
Yeah, this is a little later. They kept getting disrupted by the Bosnia,
Oh, yeah.
Balkans thing. It was a vaccine trial for traveler's diarrhea thing. And we couldn't get into a port. We're like, well, they're going to go to Istanbul. They're going to go into Cairo. All these sailors are going to go get sick. The vaccine trial failed. And they also had a norovirus outbreak. So they thought we gave them vomits from the vaccine. So nobody trusted us, but it was very fun. I got to live on an aircraft carrier for a few weeks.
Oh, so you're familiar. The Sarah, that's an old one.
It was an old dump. That's the reason we were allowed to go do it, I think.
Yeah, I did a total of 9 cruises, and they were all new, except the John F. Kennedy for Desert Storm. That was supposed to be a nuke. They ran out of money, so they meant a conventional. But I like big carriers, big decks, and I never thought they were small. I thought it was the most wildest freaking roller coaster ride. People say, what's it like taking off? People think the most dangerous thing is landing. No, taking off, because you're just hanging on. But it's like having sex in a car crash. You think you're going to die, but once you realize you didn't die, wow, that felt really good.
I'm leaving that in. What about running? During this part of your career, sometimes on the ground, you stayed fit? Were you racing ever?
Very little. It was rare. I continued to run, and most of the time in the Navy, no one could hang with me. And we'd have this semi-annual PRT where we're going to run a mile and a half, do 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups. No one could ever stay with me in that stuff. And I would compete every now and then, and we would get teams together and run the Icodin marathons, and I would run like the 10-mile leg or the 6-mile leg, things like that. And I'd still do intervals. And it's funny because when I was skipper, I was like in my late 40s, and some of the young guys, hey, skipper, come on, you got to do intervals more. Now they're as old as I was back then. They call me up, holy crap, we had no idea how hard this is to do it that age. You go, thank you very much.
How did you stay in touch with, say, Facebook while you're off on this pod adventure? Did you keep in touch with any of your running friends?
It's funny. I'd write friends. Nobody ever wrote. Nobody. Now, Marianne and I, we'd write back and forth, but it was a 2-week delay, but we wrote every day. So we were always writing each other. And so when I got home, it was like I was never gone, which was nice. And again, 49 years we've been married. I said, what's the secret? I go, marry your best friend. I said, I see a lot of people that, man, they're passionately loved. Guess what? After a year or two, once you love them forward, backwards, upside down, it's like they don't even like each other. I said, and when we found out we were going to have a baby, Mary goes, what are we going to do? I go, first, but more importantly, we best friends since the day I walked in your front. So after we got married, truly against the world, because you're 18, I'm 19. The only thing we got going on is running span for college. I don't have a clue, and you don't have a clue. But we had 2 loving parents that supported us. But again, middle class family, they couldn't help out. We were supporting ourselves and doing what we did. But we had the love and support. And it was us. And even every now and then, our kids are dragging us down. It's us against, we got 3. Absolutely love them. Our daughter, Crystal, she's 48, and Josh is 43. Josh has been my running partner since he was in 9th grade. So running has always been a part, and staying fit's always been. And this morning, Marianne and I hike 4 miles, and then I go run my 4 miles. And that's where it was weird. I always stayed in shape, even on an aircraft carrier. I'd run 45 minutes to an hour a day on the aircraft carrier. And an interesting story there is on 10 relays, I got long hair down to my shoulders, and Ian Bob was going to anchor the mile relay for Villanova. I'm anchor for Baldwin Wallace. Here's the Naval Academy next to me, and we're all drenched. And I look, kid next to me's got a buzz cut because he's at the Naval Academy. Go, hey, nice haircut. And I look like a drowned rat. He goes, yeah, you too. We go, and we both run about 408, 409 that day in the relays. Let's fast forward. Leader. It's running, and this guy comes up to me, hey, I run there. I go, sure. So we start running together. And hey, did you run in high school college? He goes, yeah. I go, where'd you run at? He goes, Naval Academy. I go, when'd you graduate? And he said, 75th. I go, you run the distance medley in 1975? He goes, yeah. I go, I'm the guy in yellow that had the long hair. He goes, the drowned rat. I go, yeah. So here we are, that much later, running together. And there was another kid. He was a little overweight, but he had a nice stride. And after a couple of months, he goes, hey, can I run with you? It's a free, yeah, you can always run with us. We start running and find out that, so what's your background? Well, I went to a small Division III school in Michigan. Oh, I said, what'd you run? People change. I go, what level? He goes, I got third at the nationals. I go, what year? And he tells me the year. I go, in Chicago? He goes, yeah. I was the guy who was smashed into the last barrier because I thought I'd run in between two guys right in front of me and dislocated my knee. And I had a huddle the last. He passed me up. He's the guy that passed me up. So here we are out of the Nimitz, three guys that were competitors against each other. And that's the beauty of running. They're lifetime friendships. It's a camaraderie that it's a cult, a fraternity, whatever you want to call it.
It's really cool. Yeah, that's great. What about your identity then? And the way you've gone through this, then you had another career after the Air Force. You talked about getting hired by Southwest. And go ahead, just tell me a quick summary of what that requires you to change and how you think about yourself or how you approach your
Well,
day.
first, we are a culmination of our DNA, our upbringing, our environment, our education, and our experiences. And if I did bad in a race, that was no reflection upon me. And I tried to impart that upon my kids when they were competing. So just because you have a bad race, maybe it was eating, maybe you got a cold, maybe you overtrained, maybe something. There's a lot of factors that go in. It's not a reflection on you. The same with pilots. Some pilots are better than others, but it's not a reflection as you as an officer or how you wear the uniform. So I identified what I thought were good core values. Again, brought up middle class, Midwest values. My identity is with Mary Ann. It's us as a couple and raising our kids as a family. That's the family's the identity. A lot of people have no idea my background because I don't bring that up or anything. And Mary Ann used to say, if there's such a thing as reincarnation, I'm going to come back as a man. Then she changed that. No, I'm coming back as you, as me. And then, but I want to come back with you because and my, think about my high school career. Basically, undefeated my senior year. I'm dating Mary Ann, the love of my life. Girls were hot back then. They dresses, mini skirt. And it was a great time to grow up. Guys, we look like douchebags. I mean, we look bad. But the girls all look great. The fashions were great. In college, I immediately identified as a family because I started as a 19-year-old dad. And so that's what it was. But I was a goofy dad. But I was very involved with the kids when I was home. I was the one out in the neighborhood playing. And we all grew up together. The Top Gun movies, those are all cool. But if there's anybody that has egos out there like that, we eat them up and spit them out. There's not that egos out. And if it's an old guy, you generally respect them because you can kick your butt in the airplane probably. And you're not going to call him pops or anything else because he outright you. That's the only thing I didn't like about the Top Gun movies. There's no trophy for Top Gun. We're all just doing. And honestly, anybody who's in the seat is probably going to do the same job. There's some that are a little better, but I love my Navy career. And I was a wild man. I never flew straight and level. And I'd fly upside down all the time. And people go, why do you do that? First, because I can. And they said, you're going to hate airline flying. I absolutely loved airline flying because it's still flying. So I flew for 54 a year, or no, I flew for 51 and I've been running for 54. I started them both when I was 14. And I had not worked a day in my life since I started flying. And even going to war. And there were some times war's only fun when you're winning. And there were times when I was dueling with up to 11 surface air missiles at one time and I wasn't winning. And it wasn't pretty, but I still loved it. I loved every mission I went. Everything I did, I loved it. And I'd pat that 737 airline that I've been flying and I still loved it. But now instead of slamming it on the ground, like on a boat, my goal is to gently put it down. And my son, he flew for the Navy for a while, but he got very sick and they medically retired him, but he could fly for the airline. So he came to Southwest and we'd fly together all the time. Dang it, he beat me in landings 9 out of 10 times. He goes, no, it was like 98 out of 100. But he's insanely good at it. And finally I said, yeah, but I spent a whole career slamming on the boats. He goes, how long have you been doing this? 17 years. I go, you should know that. And I did again. I land fine. But he just lands insanely fine. But all the cool things that I've done in flying, and I did a lot of them in the Navy. Honestly, it was a riot. Air shows, dogfighting with real enemies, missiles in the air, things blowing up. The most rewarding and fun thing I ever did was flying with my son. Oh my gosh. Watching him do it and me as the captain, I have a heads up display. He doesn't have that. He's all flying old school. And The captain flies one leg, the FO flies the next leg, first officer. And it just goes back and forth. And we're flying into LaGuardia. It's a dog crap night. I said, hey, I got a HUD. You want me to do it? I got it. And I'm flying and I got more precise stuff. I go, he doesn't need a HUD. It's amazing. When he lands, I go, crap. I couldn't do it that well with Lance. So it's funny because we've been running for decades together. He goes, Dad, when we run, we only talk about the same things. I go, what's that? We talk about running, flying, and relationships. I go, oh, the only three things I know, Josh.
That's a good summation. Larry,
It's really nice to talk to you. You're a positive guy. You're smiling the whole time. You're certainly know who you are and what's important to you. Let me ask you how you got your nickname.
Flat. 14,458 days ago. And I know because every sunrise, first thing I do, they're all gifts. Thank you. I was flying A4s at the time off the USS Lexington. They hooked me up to the catapult wrong. And it's a hydraulic catapult. You want 170 mile an hour? They push the button. It's instantaneous, 170. Scares the living crap out of you. And you're black and blue after them. But it's wild. It's just fun. Where the steam catapults on the bigger chairs, they got a two-phase. It takes 2 seconds to get up to that 170. But they push the button. I only had to get one more landing on the carrier and the 84, and then I had my wings. I'm done. They fire the button. I give the salute. I'm ready to go. And immediately the thing fires, and the jet jerks to the right. That's not right. Then the nose does a big wheelie and falls to the deck. My 7-foot nose strut gets ripped off. It looks like I'm going to go out the starboard side of the ship, but I must have stood on the left brake because I got it pointed back down the cat track. But again, there's no nose strut. Part of the wing's gone. Part of the nose is gone, and I'm not going flying. So I need to get it stopped. But I'm no longer in a 0-0 seat, which means if I'm just sitting there straight and level, I pull the ejection handle, it's going to take me up and I'll get 2 swings of the chute before I hit. Now I'm going down the flight deck, like on my nose, scooting down. So if I eject, I'm going to go and hit the water before my chute opens. So I need to get the thing stopped. And they teach you right as they shave your head, they tell you in naval aviation, if your nose even starts to go over the flight deck, kiss your ass goodbye because you waited too long. So while I'm already, my nose gone and I'm already out of the envelope. So I have temporal distortions. Everything's going slow motion. The boss is screaming, brakes, brakes, brakes. When the nose came down, I saw my nose strike flying off the port side and people getting out of the way. And I'm slowing down, I'm slowing down, I'm slowing down. And finally I go, this thing's not going to stop. Marianne's going to be pissed. My choices were pull the handle, die in impact, or go overboard, knocked unconscious in my jet, and drown. I didn't like the idea of drowning. So I said, Marianne's going to be pissed. I pull the handle, the nose is going over, jet falls off, the canopy comes off, but they didn't see any of that. They thought I went down with the jet. So the canopy comes down somewhere in that 65-foot plunge. I get rocketed out. I'm an ensign, but I study well. And I know I'm below 10,000 feet. IROK, inflate, wrap, arching mass probe fittings. So I go, I got to inflate, but I just got seat man separation and everything's slow motion at this point until I got seat man separation. In fact, whenever I was going overboard, I'm thinking, shit, this thing's not working. So I pulled the lower handle. So I look between my legs and now I see smoke billowing up. That's an ejection seat takes out about somewhere between about 12, 13 Gs. And now I'm looking down. Going, so instead of being up in the proper position, I'm looking between my legs. That's a dumbass on my part. Now I get rocketed out, but now everything's fast motion. Immediately, because the seat knows I'm below 10,000 feet, the drogue chute comes out of my ejection seat, and that slows the seat down and guillotines sever my straps or holding me into the seat. So now I get thrown from the seat, and that ejection seat kicks out at 210 knots, which is 230 mile an hour. I'm in the middle of my second somersault when I impact the water. All I remember is hitting on my side, on my shoulder and my head. I didn't lose consciousness, but I'm going, I'm not freaking dead because it's really hurt, but I'm in shock and I'm underwater. They think the helmet stayed on because I landed on my side like that. A little oxygen bottle comes back, here it goes out. So I'm underwater or in shock. I think I broke my neck. I do a certain man thing to say if my neck's broke, at least I'm still good to go. I'm the first guy to be saved by Flu 8, which is a saltwater activated life vest. In case you're unconscious in the water, after 20, 30 seconds, the acidity of the salt eats your metal tabs and inflates your life vest. brings you to the surface, puts yourself in your back, and theoretically, you won't drown. So I'm underwater, and I impacted the water before I could do any of my inflate raft oxygen mask coke fittings. So now the thing inflates. I go, yeah, I guess now would be a good time to do that. So I surface, I get rid of my mask, I take my oxygen mask off. My parachute is like an 80-pound pack on my back. I said, time to get rid of my parachute. So I get rid of it. I'm on the backside of a 3-foot swell. So I'm going through my emergency procedures. I come up a swell and I look up. I go, oh shit, there comes the USS Lexington. Looks really tiny when you're flying on it. It's really freaking big when it's in the water coming at you. Now I'm going to shift the story over to the helicopter pilot. Lieutenant Bachman was his name, Mike Bachman. When I hit the water, he goes, hey, boss, you just hit the water and don't shoot. I go, oh, shit. And then about 30 seconds later, I pop up and Mike goes, hey, boss, he just serviced. He's still alive. Turn the boat. And the skipper of the ship says, can't turn it. That'll kill home. That'll kill him. We're going to go straight ahead and we'll miss him. So I don't know any of this is going on. All I see is the boat coming at me. And I see a helicopter coming at me because there's always a helicopter flying formation on the side of the ship in case something happens. Unfortunately, the ship got to me first. And I could have gone down the port side, but I went down the starboard side, the right side. And even though the ship's only going about 10 knots of steerage, 10 to 12 knots, that's still 12 knots. That's 5 flat miles. One 5 flat with your arms down into a wall. See how that feels. It doesn't feel exactly good. And the hull keeps expanding. So I keep bouncing off the hull. And eventually I get sucked under by a little hydraulic. Now I'm underwater. But meanwhile, I go back to the helicopter guy. He's trying to get me. And when the ship gets to me, he goes, boss, you couldn't have hit him any more if you were trying to. And the ship says, move your helicopter blades away from my head. Because I was under the flight deck and he was trying to get to me. So he backs off. He says, pick him up when he clears the back of the ship. Now he's disappeared under the water line. And now I don't have my oxygen mask, but I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. But, I'm supposed to get run over by an aircraft carrier. I'm in what they call a hydraulic. It's a little underwater tornado underneath the water line. And I'm just spinning around and I got no idea what's up or down. The whole reason I pulled my handle to die on impact, not drown. After about 50 seconds to 60 seconds a minute, I'm running out of air. And I'm going, damn, Mike Burley was a swimmer. I wish I was a swimmer. But suddenly I pop up and I go, I start breathing again. And I see the ship and I'm doing a backstroke like a crazy man. And when I popped up, the helicopter pilot told the ship to go, hey, boss, we need to do an Anderson turn right now. He just popped up after the turn point of the ship. So he turns into me, which kicks the stern away from me. So I'm seeing the ship move away. I'm going, damn, I'm a great backstroker. That's not me. It's the ship moving away. Well, now that helicopter guy flies in and I see the swimmer drop from a long way up there. I go, holy shit, I would jump from that high. And I tell people, yeah, he jumped from flight deck. That's bullshit. You're embellishing the story. I go, I watched it. I'm going to pause there. 10 years later, I'm at Monterey Navy Postgraduate School because I got a special mission I'm going to go on. And they're introducing it. Splash, how'd you get Splash? And I told them the story. The guy behind goes, I got an interesting story. What's that? I'm the helo guy that picked Splash up. And I go, Lieutenant White there. He goes, yeah, Commander now. I go, holy shit, did you get the case of beer or whatever it was? He goes, yeah, we got that. Because I got pictures of you getting run over. You want that stuff? I go, yeah. So here it is 10 years later. And he goes, interesting story. So I see you hit the water. I see you come up. I see you get run over. And now I'm getting ready to come and save you. And the swimmer jumps out. As soon as he jumps out to find a helicopter, get ready to descend. And my second swimmer goes, holy shit, boss. Hey, he just jumps out. We're going, holy crap, I got 2 incapacitated guys in the water. Get your gear on. So he's coming down. You're supposed to wait till he's 6 feet above the water. He jumped from 65. He goes, the guy was so excited. We gave him a Navy Achievement Medal for saving you. And then we took him to captain's mast and sent him a remedial swim for a month for punishment. Jumping out in 65 feet. So anyway, the swimmer's on me in a heartbeat. And he goes, sir, are you okay? I go, I'm in the water and I shouldn't be. Can you get me out? So he hooked me up. We both go up the horse collar together. They put me in I was only in the water 8 minutes. They say, get out of here like this. Now I'm paranoid. What if the helicopter crashes? You'll be trapped inside. Okay, that's coming on. So I take off my life vest. Get in there, the stretcher. I said, no, I'm fine. But now I'm like this because my neck really hurts. They get, I really screwed my neck up. I say, okay, get in it. They land, and Ellis Owens, the landing signal officers, the guys that grade every landing you do, every landing of your life in the Navy, come running up. And my call sign was Shorts at the time because at the bake sale, one of the wives said, hey, you're Shorts, right? So what? You're the guy that runs around the neighborhood in the wood in just your shorts. I go, I'm a runner. That's what we do. So anyway, I heard that. So needless to say, I was shorts was my call sign. The LSOs went up. They go, holy shit, Splash, I didn't see her shoot. Yeah, I didn't see one either. Holy crap. So anyway, like 2 hours of medical. The doc goes, Ensign Coy, we got no idea why you're alive. Normally we pluck you out of the water, you look fine. But when we do the autopsy, none of your organs are in place. It's like jumping off a bridge. It's not the impact that kills you. It's the deceleration. When you hit the water, your body stops, but none of your organs. It's like they don't have seatbelts. They all rip off and you internally hemorrhage. All you have is deep muscle bruise in your back, shoulder, neck, a lot of road rash from that boat. That's going to hurt tomorrow. Hey, put this dry flight suit on. The captain of the ship wants to see you. I said, I've never been on a boat before. Where does he live? He goes, 12 decks up. I've got no Larry. I go, no. Larry go like a monster. Walk up to the bridge. Sir, Ensign Coy reporting his order. So this guy looks like he's 100 years old. Comes out, he captain of the ship because Ensign Coy, sorry about running over you. You were in the way. And I look at him and he goes, stay out of the way next time. In my head, I'm thinking, they're not going to be a next time. Because you have any idea how lucky you are. So I know exactly how lucky I am. He goes, henceforth, you're known to splash. Or no, henceforth, you're known to skip. I said, sir, I never skipped. Henceforth, December 16th, 7:58 in the morning, you shall always be known as Splash. And so that was 14,458 sunrises ago. I've been splashed. Nobody knows my real name. When I go back to Cleveland, when I go back on Cleveland overnights, by 7:37, I'll be walking and the first officer going, hey, Splash, I think somebody's calling it. They're calling Larry. Larry doesn't even equate in my head. Because when I was a kid, apparently I cried for 2 years straight. So my family called me Hap for happy. So I was happy when I was growing up. So I don't know where Larry came in. High school, they called me Larry, but I was by that. So anyway, so that's the Splash story. And that's the type of plane I was flying at the time. And that's the one I flew during Desert Storm and then back and flat during Desert Storm. It was just a wild career, Matt. Just loved it.
It sure was. You know what, Splash? I think we could have had this interview and really provided these great stories, entertainment for everybody, even if you had never run a step. But I'm sure the runners that raced against you have heard your name and enjoy hearing all this stuff too. What about who'd we miss? Who would you like to hear if you ever had a chance to listen to some of these podcasts? I'll try to get to Mark Hunter, but who are some of the other names that you've just bumped into who you'd love to find out what happened to?
The guy, when I was in 10th grade, running 10 flat, Sonny Wilburn was running 920s. And Sonny was a state champ as a junior when we were both juniors, and I'm racing him. But I watched Pete Hadich from Padua, and Pete, unfortunately, he passed away at his senior. He committed suicide. But Pete always would run next to Sonny, and then he'd outkick him. So I just would run next to him, and then I could. That's what I did. This Sonny Wilburn, he was like an idol of mine. Ron Addison was an idol of mine. And another guy that was a year younger was Bob Lund. Bob Lund, as a junior, ran 907. And when Sonny won state, Bob Lund was second. And at the time, I was 16th at the state. The same as what Ron Addison was. When I was a junior, 16th, that's the same as Ron Addison. The next year, Ron Addison won. Next year, I won. So it's weird that Ron did my career. But meanwhile, while we're juniors, Sonny won, and Bob Lund in 10th grade got second. Well, now it's a senior year, and Bob Lund and Sonny Wilburn, they're running next to each other at Ashland Invitational. It's 2.5 miles. And here's a kid they'd never heard of, tucked in right between them. They're running next to each other, and I'm right between them, right behind them. And these guys, and the whole time, I said, I just got to hang with them, and I'm going to outkick them. And this was 2.5, and that was the only 2.5 mile race I ever ran. We always ran 2. And so we make the final turn. There's about a quarter mile to go, and I just take off, and nobody comes. And I beat Bob by about 8 seconds and Sonny Wilburn by about 15 because they just shut down there because they couldn't. So that's when I knew that at that point, I can be state champ. But it's funny because I love those guys, and those guys, I mean, they're so good. And again, like Mark Hunter, we're just guys running, and Ted Roop, there were no egos out there. We're just running. Yeah, we're running hard, and we want to. It's not I'm beating you. I just want to run as fast as I can, but I'd like to beat you. But it was all that camaraderie stuff. So Bob Lund is definitely another one. Ron Addison. Oh, and there's another person from Rhodes High School who in 1965 ran a 4:15 on cinders. Steve's got he was one for Miami. He's on 2 covers of Track and Field News back in the 60s. Who the hell is that guy? He was a 4:15 high school miler on Cinders back then. And he coached Ron Addison for a while as well. But boy, if I was going to say names, those are ones. Ron, and I'm in touch with all those guys. Bob Lund, Sonny Wilburn, Mark Hunter, and Mark's son, Drew. You know him. But Drew was Foot Locker champ, won the national 2-mile indoor run. And he ran fast in high school and Mark Hunter ran in college. So he is the real deal.
I was going to ask you about legacy, but I think it's pretty apparent. Husband, father, family. It's pretty great to hear your life story. What's next for you? What's on the horizon? What do you look for besides another sunrise?
Marianne, again, I didn't join the Navy till we were married 7.5 years. She always felt like there's always something up there in front of me. First it was running, then it was Navy. She finally feels that she has all of me. And when I retired from Southwest, she asked, "You've been flying longer than you know me. Is there any type of flying you'd still like to do?" I go, "Yeah, I want to put out fires with 737s, be on a fire bomber." And she goes, "Absolutely not." I go, "Because of my air show time, I got some connection with Red Bull Air Racing. I'd like to do some air." Because absolutely not. I go, "Nope. I'm going to hang out my flying spur. And I'm just going to chase you around the house because I'm still faster than you." The thing that I love is I get to go to bed every night and I wake up every morning and she's there. And we've got 2 great kids and 3 great, wonderful granddaughters. One's a senior in college, one's a senior in high school, and one's running cross country as a freshman in high school. And it's funny because she and I go running and I said, Marianne goes, "How many grandfathers are out running with their high school cross country runners?" And people will say, "What pace you're on?" I go, "I run the same pace when I was in high school and college." They go, "Bullshit." I go, "No, it's either hard, medium, or easy. Those are the paces, whatever it is. And it's hard, medium, or easy. I run the efforts. That's what it is." So, but thank you for doing what you do.
Do you know of the other Edinburgh teammate, Kevin, at all?
I knew who Jeff Foster was and Coach Watts. Coach Watts showed up when I was racing Sonny Wilburn, the defending champ. And Sonny and I, again, we just ran side by side. And with about a half mile to go, there's a hill, and he took off going up the hill, but nobody could catch me going down the hill. So I caught him going down the hill, and I beat him. And as soon as I finished, Coach Watts was there. He goes, "Larry, don't need to talk anything. Full ride going to Edinburgh." And I love Coach Watts. And we went there. It was just still too far away from Marianne for me. Otherwise, I very well could have been Kevin's teammate there.
Sam Bear also.
Oh, yeah, I'm friends with Sam Bear because I have all the track and field news. I started getting them in 1973. When I was on Desert Storm, Ted Theodore, he used to start the races for me in college. He sent me a box. I opened the box from 1948 to 1966. And it was just a newsletter in the 48s. I spent a 9-10 month cruise just reading all those. Then I went on eBay and I got almost all the other. I'm only missing probably about 12 issues of the history of track and field news because I love the sport, man. I love how they tell the history of it and everything.
Have you kept up with everything?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, Mark just asked me if I was going to be at the national championships. We go to the Olympic trials or NCAAs anytime they're in Eugene. We went to the world championships in Eugene last year, and we're going to the pre-meet, which is Dublin as the Diamond League Championships, September 16th and 17th in Eugene. So we go to Eugene a lot. And if I'm coming here and I show you, do you see all those notebooks up there?
Yeah, yeah.
Those are all track and field news.
Oh, wow.
1948 on. So I love the sport. And I'm torn because I'm seeing all these unbelievable times and everything. And I just wonder how much shoes has to do with it. There's some talent. I just saw an 8th grader ran a 9:17, I think. And I'm going, holy crap. But I love the sport. And I love the competition, the guys, the gals. It's all, just gives me goosebumps.
That's great. When I was in Egypt, I was writing on the side for DC World Egypt, just something to do away from my job. And buddy said, "Come down and dive on the Barrier Reef with me. I got a room you can stay in at Sydney. You can sneak in." And I managed to talk my way into a journalist pass. Because I said, "Give me a letter that you want me to cover the technology Olympics." So I got to see the whole games from finish line, center court. And that was when Marion Jones was stringently anti-drugs and denying
Right,
every word
right.
of it. So what you think? Was there any evidence of, I
None,
don't know, what you can talk about? How about in the Navy?
n- none, no. It was, I had three brothers and they dabbled in that stuff. I swore I would not, it was never part of my life. None of my friends, I had friends that they knew to never do it around me or beyond anything. uh, They'd be cut out. Nobody on my college team, there's some people getting high, right? But again, they never did it around me. And that was one fraternity, which I didn't belong to a fraternity other than my house because my wife and child were there. And in the Navy, it used to be bad before I joined. When I joined, there was nobody that they were doing it.
Really?
It was not around any of the officers, and none of the officers had it. Officers had problems drinking, but again, and I'm a weird guy that never had a drink in my life. And that's and Marion likes that because I am the designated driver. Two glasses of wine, I might be getting lucky on the way home. So, so I am a happy endorphin rich guy anyway, so I don't need anything artificial to hype me up. And I never liked being around people that were drunk or high. So I just never, it wasn't part of my life.
Wow. Somebody I may make a movie about you, Splash.
It was so much fun. Every chapter of my life was so much fun. And people said, airline flying, you're going to hate it. It's so boring. Loved it. People can say, retirement. I have not been bored. Again, here's my library.
Yeah.
I am not ever bored. It's not in my DNA to be bored.
Yeah, that's great. It's great spending a couple of hours with you, Splash. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy hearing this.
I just thank you for doing it. Indiana, Pennsylvania, back in that, again, I graduated college in 77, but I think they had they had a guy that made it to nationals and was fairly good in the mid 70s.
That team became an all-American team. They did. Do you know the name Donnie Slusser? Do you know the Slusser family?
No,
Oh, he and his wife have logged miles. She was a national champion in 10K. He was running in the early 70s, but between them, they're over 300,000 miles now.
oh my gosh.
So they're coming back from the moon together as a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about 248 average thousand miles.
This has been fascinating. These passages of life. You're a master of moving on to the next thing.
If you got 3 minutes, I'll give you a life according to squad.
Yeah.
3 minutes. After I gave up the squadron, I was in charge of 4 squadrons. And so when a new group of pilots come in, and I'm actually looking really professional, but I'm a long hair. And they go, attention on deck. And I walk up and I'm in all my decked out uniform. Okay, seats. I said, who here thinks military is the game? And they're looking. I go, who thinks military aviation is the game? They're looking at me. I said, who thinks marriage is the game? You know what? I go, okay, good. At ease, relax, whatever it is you do. There's like quarter splash, 2 minutes. Do I think the military is a game? I had hair down to here when I was in high school and college. But I will cut my hair and I'll say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, military. No, ma'am, because they're going to give me the keys to a $60 million F-14. I think military aviation is a game. It's the best freaking video game amusement park ride in the world, which you get to control. But you got to play within the rules because otherwise you're going to end dead. And there's no sex when you're dead. So you got to avoid death at all costs. And do I think marriage is a game? I said, I get luckier than all you guys out there. I said, I still date my wife to where she go wear an eye on the heels because I like it. I still hold the door open. I'm trying to look up her dress. She knows that. She shows me more thigh. I'm happy she thought. So look to the left here. And then I think, okay, that's an order. Look left. Okay, now look right. One of you is going to be better. One is going to be not as good. And every day I'm going to walk in and I'm going to say, hey, you having fun? And honestly, I don't give a shit if you're having fun because I'm making it kind of hard on you. Because someday you might be in the middle of the ocean and your flaps won't come down. You're in this driving thunderstorm and you got no gas. One guy goes, sir, I'm in the Air Force. Just bear with me. So I said, when you're out there like that, guess what? Mommy can't write you a letter and say, Jimmy's the best fighter pilot in the world. Can you be excused from tonight's exercise? You either put the right inputs in or you're going to die. And again, you got to avoid death at all costs. So that's the philosophy of life. And I do believe when I hear people complain, and there's a lot of, I cut the negative out of my life. I don't let negative people in. That's just the way it is. I'll give them a couple of chances. And I say, sorry. But I say, when I hear about, and in my job as an airline pilot, every now and then I say, okay, let's pretend for a minute that you're a movie star. Okay. She goes, okay. Not only are you a movie star, but you were the leading actress of this movie. It's called This Is Your Life. But not only are you the leading actress, you're getting to write the script. Now, every now and then, the producer or director, call that God or Mother Nature, might throw in a death an illness, or a shitty marriage, but you are still writing the script to the movie in which you are starring in. So if you're not liking it, you got to talk to the writer, and that writer is you. So that's my philosophy in life. I tell them, hey, happiness is a choice. And I tell this to pilots. I go, hey, if you're not a confident, happy person, just fake it. Just fake like you're confident. Fake like you're happy. Because guess what? Eventually, you're going to realize that somebody along the way line, you became a happy, confident person. So just be the person you want to be. Quit complaining and making all excuses. Because you know what? Every excuse is probably a good excuse, but they're still an excuse. So that's what it is.
That is indeed what it is. I think we'll make that the end of this podcast.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed another episode of Running in the 70s. Voices, stories, and memories of athletes who were running in the 70s. Until next time, wherever you are, keep looking forward and don't forget to look back.